ちは。Hello everyone. お元気ですか？私は元気です。今日も一緒に日本語を勉強しましょう。Let's study Japanese together. In the previous lesson, you learned to use some verbs in the polite present affirmative form. For example, we practiced root verbs such as 食べる、食べる、食べます、食べます。We also went over the two irregular verbs, which are する、する、します、します、and 来る、来る、来ます、来ます。Remember, those two verbs are irregular because the root sounds change in certain forms. In the polite forms, す and く change to し and き respectively. But what if you need to say the negative, that someone does not eat? It's quite simple. We use the ending ません instead of ます。食べます becomes 食べません、食べません。します becomes しません、しません。来ます becomes 来ません、来ません。食べますか？いいえ、食べません。いいえ、食べません。バスは来ますか？バスは来ますか？いいえ、来ません。いいえ、来ません。タクシーも来ません。タクシーも来ません。The particle も means also and replaces the topic particle は。Let's use a few compounds with する。The polite form is irregular します。But the polite negative just changes from します to しません。Answer these questions about 3 activities in the negative. ハイキングをする。ハイキングをする。Oh, right after the noun ハイキング is the particle which marks the direct object. ハイキングをしますか？ハイキングをしますか？いいえ、ハイキングをしません。いいえ、ハイキングをしません。ダンスをする。ダンスをする。ダンスをしますか？ダンスをしますか？いいえ、ダンスをしません。いいえ、ダンスをしません。勉強する。勉強する。The direct object particle を can also be used 勉強をしますか？勉強しますか？勉強しますか？いいえ、勉強しません。いいえ、勉強しません。So, let's practice the polite negative form with a few other verbs. First, let's use the verb 出かける which means to go out. 出かける、出かける。Why don't you ask the question, will you go out tomorrow? The word for tomorrow is 明日、明日。明日出かけますか？明日出かけますか？ Now, please answer, no, I will not go out. いいえ、出かけません。いいえ、出かけません。How about the verb to get up, which is 起きる? Can you say, I don't get up early? Use the adverb 早 hayaku for the word early. Hayaku, hayaku. 私は早く起きません。私は早く起きません。The opposite of 早く is the adverb 遅く。遅く、遅く。Let's use it with the verb that's opposite of 起きる, which is 寝る. To go to sleep. How do you say, I don't go to bed late? 私は遅く寝ません。私は遅く寝ません。Certain verbs often go together with what is called a direct object. When you say, I eat sushi, the word sushi is the direct object. In Japanese, a direct object is marked with the particle o. In the distant past, the sound was actually wo, but except for a few dialects, we simply pronounce it as o today. On the other hand, the old kana has been retained because everyone is accustomed to seeing it as the direct object particle in writing. 私は寿司を食べます。私は寿司を食べます。Here's a new noun to use. 映画 means movie. We can use it with the verb 見る to see or to watch. 私は映画を見ます。私は映画を見ます。Compounds like 勉強する is originally 勉強をする. And the particle を may or may not be used depending on how the verb phrase is used. 私は日本語を勉強します。私は日本語を勉強します。Or, 私は日本語の勉強をします。私は日本語の勉強をします。And how do you negate those sentences? You use ません。私は寿司を食べません。私は寿司を食べません。私は映画を見ません。私は映画を見ません。Although those negative sentences are fine, we often prefer to use は a second time, implying not this, but possibly something else. 私は寿司は食べません。私は寿司は食べません。私は映画は見ません。私は映画は見ません。So why is the particle は used twice in those sentences? The first は after 私 is the standard topic marker, meaning as for me. The second は is really the contrast particle. And that's why は is used there instead of a direct object marker, o. This contrast particle は can be found not only in place of o for direct objects, but elsewhere as well. Here's the word 今日, which means today. 今日。私は今日出かけます。私は今日出かけます。But in a negative sentence, we often use the contrast particle は。私は今日は出かけません。私は今日は出かけません。In Japanese, the negative question ending in ませんか is a very good way to extend an invitation. It literally means, won't you do something? But it's more polite than the literal English. It's like you are suggesting, but also allowing the other person to say no. It roughly translates into, would you like to do something with me? Or why don't you do something with me? 食べませんか?食べませんか? The phrase 私と may be used with the invitation in ませんか, which means with me. You can also use 一緒に together. These may be used alone or together. 私と一緒に私と一緒に私と一緒に出かけませんか?私と一緒に出かけませんか?私と一緒に出かけませんか?一緒に映画を見ませんか?一緒に映画を見ませんか? Now, let's listen to the dialogue. Two colleagues, Becky and Nagisa, are talking about the weekend, which is 週末. 週末. Becky is thinking about going to the area called Harajuku in Tokyo tomorrow to do some shopping. The word for shopping is 買い物. 買い物. Harajuku is an area in Tokyo that attracts primarily young people. When you stand outside the small Harajuku station, you are right in front of this narrow pedestrian shopping street called Takeshita Dori. It is about 400 meters long, roughly 0.25 mile, filled with small and colorful boutiques, cafes, and restaurants. There are a couple of crepe shops there that have been in business since the 1970s. ベッキーさん、もう週末ですね。そうですね。なぎささん、今日は何をしますか?私は勉強します。ベッキーさんは?私は今日早く寝ます。明日は原宿に出かけます。ああ、そうですか。原宿で買い物をします。それからクレープを食べます。なぎささんも私と出かけませんか?ああ、いいですね。一緒にお昼ご飯も食べませんか?そうしましょう。The sentence at the end, そうしましょう is used very often and it means let's do it. Notice two different particles were used with Harajuku. You heard Harajuku に出かけます which is to Harajuku. The particle に here expresses the destination to. You also heard Harajuku で買い物をします which is in Harajuku. The particle で expresses the location of the action. Please listen to it again. You should try saying the sentences aloud. Our dialogue character, Nagisa, might try the big crepe with fresh strawberries, whipped cream, a scoop of strawberry ice cream, and a piece of cheesecake in it. 多分, maybe, なぎささんはいちごとホイップクリームとアイスとチーズケーキのクレープを食べます。And her friend Becky might enjoy the savory crepe with teriyaki chicken, lettuce, and mayo. 多分、ベッキーさんはテリヤキチキンとレタスとマヨネーズのクレープを食べます。Anyone who loves anything cute, wacky, and fun is likely to find something in Harajuku, such as unique clothes items, accessories, toys, popular candy and snacks, and so much more. Now let's look at the last several hiragana. The first set in this lesson contains the labial nasal sound m. See if you can say each sound before I read it. Ma, ma, mi, mi, mu, mu, me, me, mo, mo. The next set only has 3. Ya, ya, you, you, yo, yo. There is no hiragana or katakana representing yi and ye. In fact, the Japanese currency written yen in English is simply en, en. The next set has the r sound. It's neither the L sound or the R sound of English. Remember, it's like a quick D sound. Ra, ri, ru, re, ro. R, r. Ra, ra. Ri, ri. Ru, ru. Re, re. Ro, ro. The next set only has 2. Wa, wa. O, o. Until 1946, there were also 2 other characters, E and E, which were declared obsolete. My grandmother, who would be more than 100 years old, had E in her name, but it was pronounced E, not we. Perhaps surprising, there never was a character for wu. The last character stands alone. It's the syllabic nasal which can make up a syllable or more without being accompanied by a vowel. This sound is pronounced as the sound on its own, but depending on what consonant follows, it can be like bento, like tempura, or like ginko, which means bank. By the way, in southern Okinawa, there are simple words that begin with but that's because Okinawan is a different language. Now, I'm going to give you a few words that contain some of the hiragana that you have just learned. Can you read them? Yama, yama. 道、道。夢、夢。読む、読む。もの、もの。皆さん、ひらがなをよく勉強してくださいね。That means please study hiragana well. Don't forget to study all the hiragana you have learned in the workbook so you can memorize them faster. それでは、また会いましょう。